Imagine a band so unique, so defiantly original, that the only true comparison is to themselves. That's Between the Buried and Me, a group that started with a deep love for Converge, the Dillinger Escape Plan, and technical metalcore, but quickly evolved into something entirely their own. From country-infused hoedowns to lounge vibes and beyond, they've carved out a genre-defying path that's impossible to replicate. With their new album, The Blue Nowhere, dropping in September, it's the perfect time to dive into their journey. Founding guitarist Paul Waggoner sat down to rank their entire discography from worst to best, and trust me, this is the kind of deep dive you don't want to miss. But here's where it gets controversial. Even the band's own rankings might surprise you. Let's break it down. 10. Between the Buried and Me, 2002. This debut album was born when Paul was just 19, a time when he was still figuring out how to translate his musical ideas into guitar riffs. It's raw, he admits. Just us in our apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina, riffing together. Drummer Will Goodyear, who'd soon leave the band, was a key part of this early chapter. Will's incredibly creative, Paul recalls. A great drummer, guitarist, singer, just a lot of fun to work with. But how do you keep going when a core member leaves? Pure stubbornness, Paul laughs. I didn't want to do anything else. The Silent Circus, 2003. This is the project of albums. In Paul's words, weird, very grindy and raw. With Mark Castillo on drums, the band was young and still finding their footing. We didn't really know what we were doing, Paul admits. We just wanted to be something. This was also the era of their transition from Life Force Records to Victory, a move that happened because, as Paul puts it, American labels finally saw us gaining some traction. 8. Alaska, 2005. Here's where things start to get interesting. Alaska marks the band's first steps into experimentation, blending keyboards and unconventional guitar solos. We started doing some weird shit musically, Paul says, but still kept that core metalcore sound. It's a fan favorite, but Paul admits, I don't write music like that anymore. And this is the part most people miss. As artists evolve, so does their relationship with their early work. 7. Colors, 2007, objectively. Colors is the band's most important album, the turning point that established them as a progressive metal force. But Paul ranks it lower because, as he puts it, it's just old. We've played it a bazillion times. There's even a hint of fatigue. Does anybody care about the new stuff, he wonders? Controversial take alert. Is it fair for fans to constantly demand older material? Shouldn't new music get equal love? 6. Automata 1-2, 2018. Originally written as one album, Automata was split into 2 parts. A decision Paul now regrets. It would have had more impact as a whole, he says. Despite this, the album shines with diversity, from Grammy-nominated Condemned to the Gallows to melodic gems like Blot. But here's the kicker. Does splitting albums dilute their impact in the streaming era? 5. Colors 2, 2021. Creating a sequel to a landmark album is no small feat, but Paul clarifies we weren't trying to recreate Colors. We were revisiting the mindset of that era. Yet, there are nods to the original, like Human is Hell's homage to White Walls. Thought-provoking question. Can sequels ever truly stand on their own? Or are they forever tied to their predecessors? 4. Coma Ecliptic, 2015. This album is an underdog, Paul admits. It's our proggiest, most accessible record, he says. With clean vocals and keyboards taking the lead, it was a risk, but one that paid off. We try to do something different every time, Paul explains. And here's a fun fact. They recently played the entire album live for its 10-year anniversary, reigniting Paul's pride in it. The Great Misdirect. This album is spicy, as Paul puts it, darker, moodier, and filled with wildcard moments. It's got some of my favorite songs, he says, citing disease, injury, madness, and fossil genera. But was there pressure following up colours? A little, Paul admits, but we knew immediately this album would have its own spin. 2. The Parallax II Future Sequence, 2012. A fan favourite, Parallax II is a focused, grand undertaking. We really honed in on what makes us who we are, Paul says. The EP that preceded it served as a launching pad, but the full-length album ramped up the ambition. Bold statement. Is this their most cohesive work to date? The Blue Nowhere, 2025. Of course, the new album tops the list, but Paul's reasoning is compelling. It's the most evolved and diverse, he says. A cool encapsulation of everything we are. But was this fresh start influenced by the recent lineup change? Paul denies it. It was just the four of us, working from a blank canvas. The Blue Nowhere drops on September 12th via Inside Out Music. And now, the question I leave to you. Which album would you rank as their best? And do you think fans should give newer material as much love as the classics? Let the debate begin.